everyone, I'm Alison and this is Solo Half Reviews, and we are taking a look at Architects of the West Kingdom, brought to you by Shem Phillips and S.J. MacDonald, and published by Garfield Games and Renegade Games Studios, and the art by the Miko. So we're going to be talking about the solo aspect of this game. If you don't know all the rules for it, go check out our review. It'll be up in the iCard or in the link down below. So let's take a look and see what's different with Solo Architects. Alright, so here is the setup of the game with you versus the AI. You can play against two different AIs. There's Constantine and then there's Helena. There's an easy and hard version, so depending on what you're up for, you can pick which side. There's also a handy-dandy little setup card and solo play rules, so you don't have to go through the entire rulebook if you need just quick help. When you're playing against the AI, he has a standard deck that you're going to be going through. So you shuffle those up, and then you'll draw a card, and that will tell you what you're going to do for his turn. There's also a future scheme deck that he has that will eventually, one by one, cards will get added to the discard pile, and some of these add more difficulty to the game, like taking up some very important spaces. You put that off to the side and add it when needed. Rather than taking cards and drafting them, you'll select 5 cards and then choose 3 to keep, and that's it, and you're ready to play the game. You start with 3 silver per the norm and start at 7, and the AI also starts with 7. The difference with the AI is they don't collect any resources or coins or anything other than marble, and marble converts into points for them at the end of the game. So just for example, if it was their turn, they flip over a card. This says they put 1 worker at the king's storehouse, and they gain 1 virtue per worker at the king's storehouse. So they only have 1 worker there, so they're going to go up 1 on the virtue track. And then I would take my turn as normal. I'll go out here, collect some resources, and then it's their turn again. This one has a little bit more steps to it, and if you read the cards, it makes sense. So this says gains the rewards below rather than those on the cards. So their first option is to take that 3rd spot in the black market if it's available. If it's not, then they take the middle spot or the very end. So in our game, none of the spots are taken, so they'll take that 3rd spot. They gain 2 marble, which remember turns into victory points for them, and they lose a virtue. There's the workshop card, so they place a person in the workshop, and they're going to discard this spot, so the first player card at the top left, and they put 2 money into the tack stand. So this card would go away. They don't take it, it just gets discarded, and then 2 coins get added to the tack stand. And you'll note at the bottom of the card it says, if possible, add 1 future scheme card per worker to the scheme's discard pile. So they put 1 worker there. I'm going to add 1 future scheme card to the discard pile. So this one is the town center. They love this card for the AI. They place 1 coin in the tack stand, and then they're going to capture workers of yours. And they capture them in this order. So you filter through that list and see, well, first off, where you have the most, and then if you're tied, you go down this list. And then there's the guardhouse, and it gives them tons of different actions depending on how many workers they have available at the guardhouse. So you can take 1 action per worker. So if they had 3 workers there, they could take up to 3 actions. If you get to the point where you play their last card, you're going to shuffle it up again and start over. If you get to the point where the AI has no more workers left, they do not flip over a card. What they are going to do is collect back their workers. However, those at the guild hall and black market stay. So you collect everybody else, bring them back to their board, including ones that were in jail and over in prison. The game continues as normal, and whenever you fill up that last spot, that's when the round is going to end, and you count up your points. Your scores are the same, however, counting up the AI is a little bit different. So again, they don't have any of the resources or coins, they just have the marbles. See here on the board, they get 1 point for every marble, minus 1 point for every 2 that are in prison, and they get 1 point for building on the guild hall area. Count up your points, compare it to the AI, and hopefully you won. Alright, so that is the solo setup and play of Architect Solo. Let's talk about the good stuff and the bad stuff. So, the good stuff. I like that the deck is pretty easy to understand. All the different steps are laid out very clearly, and if ever you have a question, you have that little card to help you, or you can always double check in the solo rules. But yeah, once you've played it through once, it's pretty easy to just take it out and forget about the rules because you know them. It's very similar to how you play Architects regularly, and the chaos of the solo deck just kind of keeps you guessing. The one thing that I find kind of annoying is how often the Automa likes to steal your people and put them in jail and take them to prison. And that's just because you shuffle through the cards so much. And I hate when they take my people. It screws up my plans. But I like that, you know, it keeps it challenging. And also with the AI player card, you can play against Constantine or flip it over and play against Helena. So you can change up the difficulty. So if you're starting to cream Constantine, then flip it over and play against Helena, and her marble is worth more points at the end of the game. One of the other downsides I would say for this game is when you're playing it solo, you're the one doing all of the setup and all of the takedown. So that's one of the hindrances, I guess, in playing this game. But I do have a lot of fun playing it, and I enjoy playing the solo mode. And also, other than the fact when they steal your workers, they don't get in the way too much, and you can kind of just play your game and try to figure out your own puzzle of like, okay, how can I maximize getting the most points? What do I want to build buildings or go for the cathedral? It's a good flow of a game. I think this is the second game that I really played solo, and I enjoy it quite a bit. It's nice and fun, and of course, it's beautiful to look at. So I highly recommend trying Architects and playing it solo if you don't have anyone to play against. And then quick note, I have heard on BoardGameGeek.com that people who suggest playing against 2 AI players, and I tried that out and it worked out decently. So with the solo deck, what they did is they just used that same deck, and then you would flip one card for one AI, and then you would flip a card the other way for the other AI. And that got really crazy, and that got a lot of my workers in jail. But if you want a challenge, you can try doing that. So that's Solo Architects of the West Kingdom. I'm Allison, and this has been Solo Half Reviews. I'll catch you on the next one. Happy gaming. Oh, eyeball. Thank you. I'll be here all week with my fuzzy flippy head.